Hi there, welcome to Talk Canicross. I'm Janetta George.
And I'm Gail Walker. We're here today to talk all things Canicross, the fun way to get fit with your dog. So we hope you'll join us, whether it's for training tips, dog talk, or just for fun and encouragement. This is Talk Canicross, brought to you by DogFit. And don't forget to hit subscribe and keep in touch with all things Canicross. Hello, Calgary-based Evan Burch is not your everyday Canicrosser, and neither is his 7-year-old Vizsla Nova. Both are, in fact, ultra runners and have tackled some exceptionally long distances together, including more recently a whopping 75 miles of the Orcas Island 100 over in the US. How's this even possible, I hear you ask? And more importantly, how do you ensure the dog's welfare and health is not put at any detrimental risk? Well, we're here to find out from Evan, who's with us today. And he's here to talk about not only that, but his background in running and his special partnership with Nova. So welcome, Evan. It's great to have you here. Nice to see you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate it. I'm looking forward to having a more dog-centric focused. I've talked a lot about the run aspect, but I'm excited to get into the dog stuff.
Fantastic. Yeah, we're definitely keen to find out all we can about Nova and her journey in partnership with you. We're really pleased to have you on the show. I think you are, obviously our longest distance canicrosser ever. And obviously you're calling in from Calgary, which is great. Thanks for finding time to speak to us. So before we really get in to find out about Nova and what she's been doing, tell us a little bit more about you, how you've started off getting into running and your background really for our audience.
Yeah, so my background is been trail running for over 20 years, played very competitive soccer up until age 30. And then I wanted to do something for myself on top of a little bit of trail running that I had been doing, very short distance races, local community races. And I jumped into off-road triathlons for a year. I did 2 half distance and 2 full distance in 1 year, having never really swam very much competitively as a kid. Ended up hating the swimming. My legs sunk. It was just not for me. But the running, it was the furthest I had really trail ran in those events. And I was always finishing very high places within the run. And I just decided, you know what, there's something here for me, having been endurance from soccer. And I decided to register for a 30K race, just myself. Nova wasn't involved in that one. And I found that I just really loved the longer distance, even though that one was really tough. And I remember walking that last 2K in on that first race. But then I went from 30K to 60K to 120K to 100 miles to 200 miles to 300 miles.
As you do. Did you say
Yeah.
300 miles there, didn't you? Up to 300?
Yeah. I did a race last year that was just shy of 300 miles. So yeah, that's kind of the background with the running and the athletics. And then my career, I've been in emergency services for 2 decades as an air ambulance, fire and EMS dispatcher, supervisor, leader within the centers there. And then having recently just went through some mental health things over the last 3 years that have kind of pulled me out of that career, which we can touch on throughout this. But I know we want to focus on Nova, which is important. I'd love being able to talk about her.
Yeah, you and Nova, and also, so you're a coach as well now, aren't you?
Yeah, so I am an ultra running coach. I coached friends for the last like 2 years, just really trying to hone in on. It's one thing to be able to run yourself, but it's another thing to be able to coach people. In my career, I coached and trained a lot of people, so I knew I had it in me to bring it out. But now I've been taking on athletes, and it's funny, both of the athletes I have run with their dogs. So and that was not planned. I think it's just you attract the people that are meant for you. And I love being able to not only just train the runner, but also help them to understand like what they can do for their dog as well.
Yeah, excellent. That's amazing. Because that's good, because I know that Gal wants to run 300 miles as well. So
I can't wait.
Perfect. It's perfect. I can help you.
I think 26.2 is my limit. I don't know about 300. I don't know how you find the time or have the legs for it, but we're going to come to that because I'm just curious how, well, I'm going to ask you exactly how you train for something like that. Not because I've had the permission to do it, but just I'm in total.
Yeah.
having said that, on that subject, you mentioned about you've run up to 300 miles, and you made it sound like so easy. I started at 30k and gradually went up, and I was imagining all this happening in within a year, but I'm sure it took a bit longer than that.
It was a period of, so 2019 was my first like true ultra distance race at 60k. It was a local community event here, Iron Lakes Mountain Races. But that 60k had just shy of 3,000 meters of elevation in it, which is a considerable amount in that distance. So it absolutely just rocked me. But yeah, it's been a period of like 6 years of us going up in distance together, really.
Yeah. And which sort of races have really stood out for you? You know, in terms of, obviously, it'd be good to hear about that, the longest one you've done. But are there other ones that you've particularly enjoyed? And you know, what is it that motivates you? Is it distance, or is it the terrain and the location? What sort of inspires you to go out and do it?
I think the smaller community style races are really enjoyable. The ones that really the whole community gets behind the race and where the event is being held. And then the ones that are a little bit off the beaten path that most people may not know about. There's one that I did in 2019 in Arizona. It's called the Canyon de Chelly Ultra. And it's a lottery race that you put your name in, and it's on Navajo land. So you actually get to run through Navajo Canyon. That the only time you can actually be in there typically throughout the rest of the year is with a guide. But they let 150 runners every year run this race through this Navajo Canyon, and they have all the cultural aspects tied to everything to do with the race. The pre-race briefing the night before, they do it like a sunrise ceremony before you go out and run.
Oh, lovely.
So that you really get entrenched in the culture, which I absolutely loved. So that one was it was like 9k of sand to start and 9k of sand to end, which running in sand is it's tough.
Yeah.
And then so that's probably like the coolest one, like off the beaten path. And then the longest race I did was last year. So it's called the Speed Project, which is actually going on right now in the US. The soloists, the first one just finished last night. So they do it once every year, usually at the end of March. And it's what they call an unsanctioned race. So there's no official start, no official finish line. It's you start at the Santa Monica Pier in Los Angeles, and you run to Las Vegas, to the old welcome sign in Las Vegas.
Okay, really?
But you choose your own route. There's no predefined route. The only rules are you're not allowed to commit any crimes, and you're not allowed to run on the freeway. Those are really the only two rules.
Okay. Which you wouldn't want to do either of those things, really.
No. So it's kind of like, those books as a kid when you got to like choose your own adventure.
Yeah,
that's the best way I can describe that race.
Sounds great. I mean, it's fine if you're good at navigation. I don't think I'd fare too well at that, but I like the ones where there's a marshal every and
an aid station.
Yeah. So how long did that take you then to do?
So that one took me 94 hours.
90.
Wow. And do you sleep? Sort of, you obviously nap for very short periods of time.
Yeah, my total sleep in that 94 hours was about 5 hours.
Wow, gosh.
Yeah, it was probably the least amount of sleep I've had during a longer race. I've done a couple of other 200-mile like mountainous races as well too, over the last few years here as well too. So, but yeah, that one was probably again the most unique, and being able to get in an RV with yourself and your crew and your pacers and people jumping in and out. Two guys, Lance Parker and Stuart Chutter, my two pacers, paced me for over 100 miles each.
Wow.
So like I have the right people around me, there's no doubt.
They deserve applause as well.
Yes.
I mean, that's like tiny part of the whole thing. 100
and it was actually worse for them because they had to do 20 miles and then they would take a break and then the next person would jump in. So it was like, it's actually worse stopping and starting than just like continuing 100 miles. So kudos to them for supporting me in that.
I'm just curious, I don't know, it's got me thinking, what goes through your mind when you're 94 hours out going, what's going on to keep you going? And what do you do? Do you listen to music, podcasts, or do you
I'm one of those like really crazy people that doesn't listen to music when they run. I will say, like, if I put something on, it's almost like masochistic. I like put on one song on repeat because I'm like, you know what? I'm not here to just like have fun. I'm here to do something. I chose this level of hard, and that's the thing for me is like I always I always like to say, like, the reason why I choose the hard that I choose is because when that life event or things happen to us, and that hard is like something that just happens to us, then we have something to pull from. And I think
Yeah,
that's what it is for ultras for me, is like I get to choose the level of hard that I want for myself right now. And yeah, it might be difficult, it might be hard. I don't see it as suffering for myself. I've never seen ultra running as like a suffer fest or anything like that, because
yeah,
I chose it. Like, you can't,
Yeah, yeah.
it's tough for me to say that it's suffering because it's like I made that choice. So like it was like, I guess, chosen suffering, if you want to call it something, but I don't see it that way.
wow, there's incredible distances. But obviously we're really keen, and we can just see Nova in the background. For anyone watching this on YouTube, we can see that lovely Vizsla asleep in her bed. She,
No,
yeah.
oh,
Oh,
there
there
she
she
is.
goes. Oh,
Oh.
so who so tell us a bit about her. I mean, did you get her from a puppy? I mean, and obviously, and how old she is now, and how you started actually running together and discovering Canicross.
Yeah, so I'll tell you her origin story. So we did, I've always wanted a running dog. I had miniature pinchers before, and they could run like my older, the male could run like 5 to 10K with me every now and then, but not any distance by any stretch. And I was starting to go further in distance, and with the off-road triathlons, I was like, I really want a running dog. And I knew I had researched everything. I'm one of those people that will just research
Yeah.
absolutely everything. I found a breeder that was in the States, about a 14-hour drive away from us. We had planned, I had planned to get her and pick her up, and then this was so I had a daughter who was 2 at the time, and then another daughter on the way. And I went down, drove down to Montana for 14 hours, picked her up. And the unique thing about her, the breeder, obviously there's like 7 or 8 puppies in the
Yeah.
litter, and they always ask, because we had first right of refusal because we had pushed back on one litter, so we were the first up to choose. And she said, like, which one, like, what temperament are you looking for? Because she knows her puppies best. And I just said, I want the dog that goes to your kids the most. That is what I want. I want that puppy that will, like, the first thing they do in the morning is go to your kids, because they raise all their dogs with their family. They had 4 boys. And yeah, so that's how we ended up with Nova. She was the one that always woke up and went to the kids first, which is obviously important for me because we had 2 young kids, one on the way,
Yeah,
one
nice.
there already. And so I picked her up, 14-hour drive down to the States, stayed overnight, drove 14 hours back the next day. As she sat on the front seat, and I hand fed her kibble one piece at a time, like every 5 minutes, because puppies, if they're in cars for the first time, can get like really upset stomachs. So you don't want to give them a full meal. So that's how we bonded, was 14 hours of, like, we bonded over food, which is why ultras are great, because it's a food eating contest. So yeah, that's really how we bonded right from the beginning, was picking her up that way.
Yeah, and how old is she now?
So Nova is 7 now. She turns 8 in July.
Oh wow. So she's and starting Canicross together, obviously you waited until she was fully grown, and then
Mm-hmm.
how did you introduce it? Were you going out some of your shorter runs and then building up from there?
Yeah, so when she was about 4 months old, that's when we kind of just started her, like, having her off leash and just like being with us on walks and hikes and things like that. Just kind of low activity, nothing crazy. Maybe a couple little, like, 1 to 2 kilometer little runs, things like that. So she grew up like being on the trails. Like, if I took her to the trail that we first started like running on, she would know exactly where she is. It's crazy how they remember those smells and those things. So for us, it was like a very gradual increase over the years. Like, I would say she's probably done at least 15 to 20 ultra distance runs over the last 6 years, over that 50K mark.
Yeah.
Whether that be mostly in training with me, and then a couple of bigger days out in the mountains, with quite a bit of elevation too. Like, some of these routes that we're doing are, 50 kilometers with 2,000 meters of elevation in the mountains, because I'm only an hour from the Rocky Mountains here. So the terrain that we have access to is unlimited. But yeah, it was definitely a slow burn. And the thing with Vizslas, and I'm sure most pointers and most people who have a running dog, is as soon as you show them what they're capable of, like, they want more. And I think that's like the cool thing, but also the scary thing, because you're like, well, how far can they go, right?
Yeah.
Because when you see them like still not tired after 60 kilometers, and you're like, what is going on? Like, you should be tired.
Yeah, and I guess as soon as you can put your trainers on, she's hot to chop with you, is she?
As soon as she hears my running bag come out or sniffs her leash or call it, like she's standing at the door. There's no doubt about it. Like this is her job. She's not a bird. Like I'm not a bird hunter, so Vizsla's word bird for bred for birding and
Yeah,
hunting in the bush and tracking birds all day long.
yeah,
So for her, like running is her job because instinctually, like that's what they're bred for. They know that. So for her, it's just like let's go, let's go do the job.
yeah. Well, I mean, we call them HPR breeds, so they're hunt, point, and retrieve. But obviously, they have endurance in that they can go all day. But I mean, definitely at Dog Fit, we run with every breed. Some obviously are built for
Mhm.
endurance, and but yeah, it doesn't really matter what your dog. Obviously, not the smaller dogs running bigger distances, but definitely the HPR breeds. That's in their nature for sure.
Absolutely.
Especially she loves it so much by the sound of it. So yeah. So what just curious, when you obviously we'll talk about what's involved in training both yourself and Nova
Mhm.
for a long run, but what do you typically do in a week? What's your sort of, in terms of like going out for runs together? Do you keep
Yeah,
by mile?
so I'm on the lower end of the mileage side of ultra runners. Like there are some that are typically running like 150 kilometers a week. I'm more in that kind of 70 to 100 kilometers a week, and I only typically run 4, maybe 5 days a week if I'm kind of at my peak training. So typically Monday is our rest day. Tuesday we'll go out for kind of like a 10 to 15 kilometers. Wednesday is a rest day, or hills if I'm in my kind of peak training cycle. Thursday is the same as Tuesday. Friday is a rest day. Saturday is a big day out, and then Sunday is like a kind of, you typically it's at least a half marathon, but just like a recovery run. No pace, no care in the world. Like we're just out there just to like shake everything out from the week. So it just kind of depends, and then as kind of training ramps up, especially depending on the distance that I'm training for the next race. So my next race is Tahoe 200 in June. She's not coming with us for that one, but I have to start adding in some extra days. But I like my rest days, so I'll start running double days on Tuesdays and Thursdays rather than giving up a Monday or Friday rest day. So I'll run early in the morning and then I'll run later in the afternoon. Um, but yeah, 20K maybe total each day.
Yeah.
So when you have a rest day, is that both of you? Is that Nova has a rest day as well?
Absolutely. She is just like, we'll go for a walk. Maybe we'll play frisbee if she's like super keen for it because she loves frisbee.
A cross
Um,
training day then.
Training.
exactly. She loves honestly, like she is like the frisbee queen, which is amazing. She can catch it from so far away. But yeah, that's typically like, and when I say rest day, it's usually mobility, yoga, that type of stuff. It's still we're moving our bodies, but we're just not putting any added strain or anything to our bodies.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, people listening to this podcast are going to think that even running a marathon with your dog is an amazing
Mhm.
thing. And as you mentioned earlier, you recently raced the Orca Island, and you did 75 miles together, didn't you? Um,
Yeah.
so in terms of that, then obviously you built up your training, obviously, as you said, like with your rest days, and she was coming out with you on every run.
Yeah, so obviously with winter in Canada, training it was definitely difficult this time of year. The
Yeah,
2 weeks leading up to the race, we had very cold temperatures and it just wasn't safe for me to go out with her. So we had like a 2 week taper almost before the race, just
right.
purely because of the weather, which I don't think was necessarily a bad thing. I mean, a forced taper isn't, it wasn't on the plan. But we had done enough mileage before that. We'd had a lot of days where we'd do like a 30K run.
Yeah,
There's a route that we typically do. It's called Moose Mountain Road, and it's like an oil and gas road that they plow every winter. But it's super double wide, so boring. It's 7 kilometers up, seven
wow,
kilometers down, about 600 meters of elevation gain. So we'll
wow,
go and do repeats of that, just
wow.
because it's the safest. It's plowed. You don't have to worry about your footing.
Yeah.
And it's really just about the exercise at that point in the training, as opposed to like, ooh, like yes, the scenery is beautiful because we're still in the mountains in that area, but it's definitely monotonous training. There's no doubt.
And she's obviously just keen just to be with you and running with you. I guess for her, she's
Absolutely.
yeah buzzing because she's just running with you.
Yeah,
But
and we
that's
yeah.
amazing, completing the 75 miles with her. And I mean, did you stop at, or was that just the limit for her at 75 or?
Yeah, so the way the course is laid out, so it's 4 25-mile loops. And
Right.
within each loop, there's three aid stations, and then the start finish is the same spot each time.
Yeah.
So we hit every time we hit an aid station, we would just obviously take a tiny little bit of a break. Some of them we could have my wife, Cassie, at the crew station with us. Some we couldn't access because of the roads and the weather. They didn't open up the road for everybody to go up to that aid station. But yeah, we just had an intentional plan going in of committed rest for her that we weren't willing to sacrifice, no matter where we were in the race. It was really about, she had been training on harness with me from the moment I decided to do this race. She was always on harness. She definitely loves running off leash. She's an absolute squirrel through the trees when she's
Yeah.
off leash, and she has really good recall. But it was very intentional because I needed to like maximize her energy efficiency and keep her like as low as I possibly could.
Yeah.
So yeah, the way the loops worked, so we had those three aid stations in between, and really the reason why it kind of came to that 75 miles is we had a little bit of a tougher time on the after the on the second night, or sorry, the first night on the second loop.
Yeah.
We had really horrible fog. I could barely see 6 feet in front of me. It was, think about like driving down the road with your brights on in fog. That
Wow.
was the best
Yeah.
way to describe it on a trail that we had obviously gone through once. So I'm glad we had that like familiarity before we went on the loop on the
Yeah.
night leg. But yeah, it really came down to giving her rest and making sure that we didn't push her beyond what we thought she was capable of, because we didn't
Yeah.
really know, because
Yeah.
nobody's ever done this.
No.
So we were in unknown territory. So it was better to err on the side of like let's err on caution as opposed to pushing, because we don't really know.
No.
So it was really a matter of cutoff times, and we missed that 11 a.m. cutoff at the main start finish to begin on the fourth loop.
Yeah.
That's really important because you're talking about here, putting Nova first. And I know anyone listening will be thinking about, these are extreme distances. And you said yourself, no one's really done it before. And, probably can't imagine their own dog doing that sort of distance, let alone themselves. And
Mhm.
but it sounds like obviously your number one priority is Nova. Making sure that you got that, respite and recovery. So what other things do you factor in? Obviously, you talked about building up the training, not making sure she gets ample rest. And what about things like nutrition and hydration? How do you manage that over that sort of distance?
Yeah, so luckily and choosing Orcas Island 100 was very intentional. There's very few races that will allow you to run in a sanctioned like human ultra with your dog, just purely based on insurance and all of these other factors, that they just obviously don't have the ability to support. And some areas won't even allow permits for it just because it's just like a no-go. So it was about the weather was number one, because it was anywhere from like 0 to 10 degrees Celsius. It was kind of coming out of winter for them. We knew it could be a little bit cooler, maybe some rain, which meant she wouldn't overheat at all. We wouldn't have to really worry too much about that aspect. The terrain is probably one of the other big ones. Everybody knows how, I mean, dogs' paws are pretty sensitive if I'm in the mountains here. I've had a couple of torn paw pads with her unexpectedly, running through some of the rocky terrain. But this is like Pacific Northwest, like squishy, like mossy, like dirt packed,
Yeah. No.
90% for the race, except for some of the road sections, but we run on the road a lot too. So, and then the looped course meant we were always going to have access to somebody or somewhere rather than an out and back where you're not seeing people for like multiple hours on a time.
Yeah.
Um, so that's why we chose that race. But the nutrition and the nutrition and the hydration, because we chose that race, there was water everywhere on the course. Like she would drink when she wanted it. I had a bottle with me for her specifically because I have electrolytes in mine. But she didn't want it ever. The entire time, every time I took it out, I'm like, why am I carrying an extra 500 milliliters of water in my pack if you're not going to drink it?
Yeah.
Um,
That's typical, isn't it? I think when we chatted before, You mentioned that she's got these like superpowers, haven't you? So she's a special girl, isn't she?
Yeah, like she's just like, again, I'm like, drink water, and she's just like looking at me because I've taught her to like squirt water from a bottle
Yeah.
like into her mouth, and she just would like turn her head, wouldn't want it, and then the next dirty puddle we saw, just lapped it up. I was like, I have fresh, clean water for you, and you want to drink the dirty puddle.
Yeah,
But
that's so common though. I mean, even when we go out on runs and if it's a bit warmer, you can't force a dog to drink. It was like it's just a crazy thing. But also on the nutrition side, so what I'm interested,
yeah.
what were you how often were you giving? I mean, obviously you're snacking because you need the energy
Mhm.
and the calories. What would you specifically be bringing along for her?
Yeah, it's funny. I forgot about myself a lot in this race. I was so focused on her. Even my wife kept on telling me, she's like, "Are you eating?" And I was just like, "Oh, I forgot. Like, I got to eat something," because I
Yeah,
was so focused on her. But really, so we fed her a raw diet for the last 6 years. She had a very delicate stomach when she was a puppy, and we
yeah,
found just a combination of the raw diet. It's like a turkey and beef mixture, and we have this like powder that is like I guess kind of like a probiotic that kind of coats her stomach because she's always had an issue with her stomach when she was little with kibble and things like that. So we swapped her. And ever since then, like we've had maybe, knock on wood, we've had like one unexpected vet visit in 6 years. So when
wow,
I say that like we're doing all these things, we're doing these distances, like one unexpected vet visit because she ate a weed, like a marijuana brownie when we were hiking.
wow,
Yeah, that's a whole other story in itself.
yeah,
But so raw diet, and then what we did was, so I had reached out to a friend's dad who owns a sled dog company, Sunrise Sled Dog,
yeah,
in our area here, and because that's the only place that I thought I could draw from was sled dogs, because nobody had ever gone this distance, but sled dogs do this on a routine basis.
yeah, yeah,
But they're doing it at a very higher, like a high level of output all the time, whereas we were kind of on a lower end of output. So really the nutrition side of things was a little bit based on some of that. So a little bit of bone broth in her water when she did want it, just to get a little bit of nutrition in that way if she wasn't wanting to eat. But every time we gave her food, she ate it. So what we did was we actually took her meals. So we gave her full breakfast in the morning at the start of the race, like an
yeah,
hour and a half before, like I would normally before any long run.
yeah,
And then when it came to her evening meal, what we did was the 8 ounces that she would normally get, we just split it up into 2 ounce sections every time we hit one of those aid stations. So
sure,
we just like spaced it out because again, like dogs doing exercise can suffer twisted stomach, bloat, all of those things that you're worried about, right? When you're trying to feed them and exercise them at the same time. So it was really about just smaller meals throughout, just to allow her that, so she's not having to digest a full meal and then go out for another 6 hours.
yeah. And I guess that's something you practice. I mean, like with any nutrition, you practice it when you're doing your training, don't you? So it wasn't,
Yeah.
she's already used to doing that. So yeah, no, that's really interesting.
How was Nova during that race? You know, like you say, you'd have a
Yeah.
rest, and was she like eager to get going again by any
You
chance?
know, it's funny, like when I say that she was leading for 90% of the race, like she was in front of me for 90% of that race. And the only time she kind of tucks back is when I take my poles out, because she just knows that we're going uphill and she doesn't want to get poked by a pole. So she'll kind of hang back off of
Yeah,
the leash. So I had to shorten the leash a couple times and do a couple things just to keep her from getting poked by the poles. But
yeah,
yeah, anytime we stopped and we had that like set 1 hour, for instance, after the first loop, we took all of her gear off, put her into the car in her little donut sleeping bag. She just curled right up, went to sleep for the full hour. No, like didn't even, no hesitation, gave her a little bit of food, let her sleep. And then the first time I still remember like opening up the sleeping bag, like picking her up, putting her on the ground, and she's just like, okay, what's going on? Like usually we're done. And then he's like start putting all the gear on, and her tail's still just wagging, and she doesn't love jackets and stuff. Like if I
yeah,
just put a jacket on her, she'll stand there like a statue. But as soon as we get going,
Yeah.
it's completely different. She's like, let's go. I know what so I think you could just see like a confused look on her face. I mean, I know her well enough, having run
yeah,
hundreds of kilometers with her. So she wasn't like hanging back or wanting to go back in the car or anything like that. She was just more confused, like, okay, it's like, oh, it's dark out now. Like, why are we putting stuff on to go run? And why are we running again?
yeah.
Um, But again, just
Was she running in a jacket then? She had a kind
yeah,
of,
so all of our gear is from Nonstop Dogwear. So
yeah,
they right from the beginning when I thought of this plan, we had been using a nonstop free motion harness for ever for like the previous 2 years as soon as I found the proper harness for her.
yeah,
And honestly, like they have been so amazing to work with. And their gear is just like incredible, especially when you start doing what I'm doing. You're going these longer distances, and
yeah.
you need stuff that you can rely on that's not going to chafe, that's not going to affect her. So we had the one of the Nonstop Dogwear just really thin trekking rain jacket on her the
Okay,
entire
yeah,
time over top of the free motion. And then I had like the reflective vest that you would normally put on them when they're hunting in the bush or
yeah.
just like running around, just so people could see her, or if we were on the road and there was cars passing us, just to make sure that she was visible. But yeah, that the gear, without a shadow of a doubt, like she had no rub marks, no chafing, no anything after 75 miles. So I think
That's
it's just a
amazing.
testament to the
Yeah.
quality of the gear.
Yeah, we stock quite the non-stop range of harnesses, and they are excellent. So as you said, and they've been derived from the dog sledding harnesses anyway, but
Hmm.
yeah, they are excellent pieces of kit. So yeah,
Obviously, and we will go back to Nova again, but obviously,
Yeah.
a lot of people listening who are quite into ultra running themselves, with maybe without a dog, perhaps. But yeah, you talked about being prepared, for Nova and doing all the training and nutrition.
Hmm.
Ultra runners out there, and I'm just thinking about yourself on that long distance run on the Orcas 100. How did you prepare yourself? What nutrition were you having? I know you said your wife had to remind you to eat, but generally speaking, what are you surviving on to get round? And obviously not enough sleep, but what about food?
Yeah, so I work with a company here. It's a Canadian company called Exact Nutrition, XACT, Exact Nutrition, and I've used their stuff for the last kind of 2 years, give or take. I found it through my coach, and yeah, so I have like they're like little fruit bars that have a certain amount of protein, some certain number of calories, and then some have caffeine in them. And then their electrolyte tabs, that's probably like one of the number one things that I always tell people. Like electrolytes are probably one of the most important things on these long endurance events. Yes, calories are equally important, but if you get behind on hydration, like it can end your event very quickly.
yeah,
Especially if, in cooler conditions when you don't really feel like drinking, but your body needs it, but you don't feel like it. Like it's almost like you have to force yourself to drink, even though you don't want to, especially through winter training, right? Like you're not sweating as much and you don't feel like you need it, but your body needs it. It's utilizing it all the time. So having that proper electrolyte situation, and then I used to have a lot of like liquid calories previous to working with Exact, but I've really moved to more like whole calories. So at aid stations, I'll be eating, if they have quesadillas, if they have my specialty is, I don't know if you have it in the UK, stovetop stuffing. Yeah, I'm not sure if
no,
so. It's
no,
like think of like Christmas stuffing, but it's like stuffing you make in like breaded stuffing in a box. And
all
I
right.
literally roll them up into balls and I just put them in my vest, and like the number of calories, the salt, and all the other things. Don't look at the other ingredients because they're really bad for you. But I've been known to have like stuffing in my pocket, and or pocket bacon. That's another favorite of mine. Pocket
Yeah,
bacon's always good.
yeah,
Yeah, I really try to stick to kind of whole foods when I can. I'll have bananas, I'll have fruit,
yeah,
um, I love Oreos. Oreos are like but yeah, the ultra running is an eating contest, but you have to find out what works for you. But I have found that removing the liquid nutrition and being able to eat whole foods, I feel so much better, and my recovery is faster.
yeah,
And yeah, I'm not one of those people that really measures I need 100 grams of carbs per hour. I'm not that detailed of a person. I just know I need somewhere in the range of 250 to 350 calories an hour realistically to maintain what I'm doing. And if I eat it all over a period of like an aid station, and now I don't need to eat calories for like 3 hours, then that's fine. If I have it in my mind of like I'm approximately that. But that's kind of what it is for me, somewhere in that 250 to 350 calories per hour.
Yeah, I guess it's just drawing on your experience as well. And it sounds like the
Mhm.
actually having food as opposed to liquids is working well for you. But what's next on the agenda then for the two of you? Have you got another race lined up with Nova?
Yeah, so I haven't decided on any races with Nova. You know, Canicross isn't big here in Canada, at least on the west coast of Canada. It's fairly big on the east coast of Canada and the Quebec area, Quebec and Ontario a little bit more. So I'm interested to see if I can find some around my area. There is a like an organization like within our province of Alberta. There is an Alberta Canicross Association, but there's not a lot of it's very small, like the very, very niche, which I find very odd. Like there's so many people that I know, friends that are in the ultra space that run with their dogs all the
Yeah.
time. So I'm excited to see, maybe I'll do something. I don't
I was
know,
going to
maybe
say
I'll.
maybe it's an event that you need to.
Yeah, yeah. So I think,
Oh,
but I don't think I can't even say I don't think we won't be running 100 miles again. She is almost 8 years old. It's like very like aware to me that this distance was like a one-time attempt.
yeah,
Do I think we'll do other shorter distance races? I think that's definitely a
yeah,
possibility. Nothing planned for this year right now. But I wouldn't be surprised if we do something next year in that kind of 50K, 50-mile range,
yeah,
because I know she's very capable of it.
I love
yeah.
how you call that short, the shorter distances.
Yeah.
50K. I was thinking, we thought shorter distances, we're thinking like 5K, 10K. But yeah,
Yeah, it's all relative, right? It's all
it
relative.
really is. Yeah.
Yeah,
Thing
Yeah.
is, though, it's more about just getting out and having fun together, isn't it?
absolutely.
And training together. She doesn't know well, when it's a race, it's more probably for you to motivate you for training, but she's obviously going to go wherever you go, no matter what. So, yeah.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah, this event was never about the outcome. It wasn't about me proving to anybody or anything or anyone that like we could do this together. It wasn't about me. This was about her and us sharing an adventure together. And the fact that we finished 75 miles and didn't get to that 100 miles, like I knew from the beginning that we were going to be okay with either outcome. Even if we only got 25 miles and she was like, I don't want to run anymore, I probably would have like continued in the race myself.
Yeah.
Um, but there was no predetermined like idea that this had to happen no matter what at any cost. And I think that was like the best part about this is there was no ego involved. It was always about let's have an adventure, let's see what we can do within the confines that we've like decided on right off the bat, and we're not willing to deviate from that. So and I think no dog ever knows the distance that they're going to run when they start with you. Like
Right.
they have no idea. They put their gear on, they go out, and they're just like, okay, I'm out here. I don't know for how long, but I know that he's like the amount of trust that has to be provided between like human and dog when you're doing any distance, any running at all. Like they have to know that you have their best interest at heart because they don't know how long they're out there for. She had no idea she was going to run 75 miles with me that day. There was just no thought in her mind, right? Like she's just a dog. And I think if more people could themselves think like that and just be like, I'm just gonna go. I'm gonna go run today. I don't. If I plan 10K, that's fine. But it's like I'm not out here for the distance or the goals. It's the process that really we fell in love with, right?
That's
Right.
really interesting you say that, Evan, because I think, yes, rather than put if you have a goal, or if you have a sort of a distance in mind and you don't achieve it, might feel like you've failed, rather than
Mhm.
just don't worry about that. Just even if you just say, you have a few laps and you just do a couple, it's just about getting out, isn't it? And just enjoying it and not worrying about the time or the distance necessarily.
You have to detach yourself from the outcome because
Yeah,
if that outcome isn't what you wanted, you're gonna, like you said, feel like you failed, and you're gonna tie yourself so closely to that outcome that you're gonna feel like you're a failure. That I should have done better. You'll should yourself to death.
yeah,
And that's just not I don't feel like that's a very healthy place to come at anything from, let alone running. It's really, yeah, I think there's just like, go enjoy it. Like, do it for the joy of it and the companionship and the bond that you're creating. Because honestly, like, the bond that I've created with Nova is so, so strong from the time that we spent together. that like that's all that matters to me. It doesn't matter how far we've gone or in what time frame. It's just like I know that every time I go out for a run, she's like keen to join me every time. There's not one time that she's like been like, oh, I don't want to go. Um, and I know that day will eventually come. So I'm like, I'm going to soak up every single moment that I can with her with that.
Absolutely. I mean, and it's an incredible feeling, and part of the reason that we all do it. But you know, when you do an event with your dog, it's just you and your dog on the trails, and you know your dog is having a great time and kind of looks at you, and you build that incredible bond. But for you then, when you're doing the ultras without her, how does that feel? Because obviously you've got
Yeah.
your companion when she's running with you, and then all of a sudden it's just you. How do you cope with that?
Oh, I haven't really thought much about that, but now that I'm thinking about it, like there's definitely like a piece of you that's like missing when you're that bonded with the dog that you're running with and you're by yourself. I mean, some of these longer distance races, I do have friends that obviously come out and help pace and do other things with me, but yeah, just like not having that little sidekick that, is like happy all the time. Like there's not a moment where she's just like, I don't want to be here. It's just like you say her name and she just like instantly runs to you and boops her nose on your hand. And because that's like how I have her recall, I just say touch and she comes and like touches her nose to my hand. And yeah, it's definitely weird. And yeah, it feels like there's like a little piece missing. But I also always just like in those in those moments when I have the lows, I always go like, what would Nova do?
No.
Like what would she do? And what
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
she would just keep running.
She just,
Like there's no doubt in my mind she would keep running. So it's like if she was there, like what would you do?
what would Nova do?
Um
That's a good line.
yeah.
I think we have
No,
to
that's
think of
not
that
bad.
one.
Yeah.
And you mentioned right at the beginning of our conversation about how the ultra running has really helped with your mental health.
Hmm.
How important has that been? And and also for anyone listening to this podcast or watching this podcast, who are probably struggling themselves with mental health issues and maybe thinking about getting into running or starting Canicross, what would be your advice based on your own experiences?
Yeah, I think, I started running longer distances subconsciously to run away from everything that I wasn't dealing with. I didn't know that at the time. I have that awareness level now. Um, so really it's a matter of like choosing your why right off the bat and understanding that, running in itself is therapeutic, but it's not therapy. And it's one of those things that it can help with the symptoms, or it can help with the feelings that you might be like wanting to like get out from the day. But it can never deal with the why of what's actually going on. So I think it's really important to, factor in like being able to speak to somebody, whether it's a friend, peer support, a psychologist, family, whatever it is, and just understand that it's like there are communities and there are spaces where you're like you don't have to do this alone. And that's what we were talking about at the beginning. So I started a podcast with a friend recently. It's called the Enduring Minds podcast. And we really talk about the intersection between mental health and endurance sports and how people's stories and giving people mainly focused on kind of the men's mental health. But I'll be honest, the majority of our viewership is women, which is like amazing because they're seeing men being vulnerable and being given a platform and a space to share their stories. And it's just creating this like level of safety. And there's so many communities out there that can create that for people, whether it be run groups or going to a Canicross event or going to a run event or running with your neighbor, whatever it is. Like there are groups out there available for people, and I think that's the biggest thing. Like depression, anxiety, all of these mental health issues that people go through, like those things want you alone and want you isolated themselves. Like they want you to not go out for a run. They want you stuck because that's the way that it can control you. So yeah, just like put yourself out there and understand that, find the people that are willing to have the tough and hard conversations and be vulnerable. Because I think it's important to like get this out in the open and like get it out of the shadows.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll link your podcast as well in the show notes. It's I'm sure it'd be a great listen and inspiration. Now obviously you're running these ultra distances with Nova, and we're not suggesting that people suddenly start to enter an ultra just off the bat. But if anyone
Mhm.
that's listening to this that maybe has been doing the slightly longer distances, how would you recommend that they might approach building up to running, you know, a marathon or a bit further with their dogs?
Yeah, I think it comes back to there's like three major factors as soon as you start running further, and honestly, it's terrain, weather, and like that nutrition and hydration access. Like those are like the three main things when you start going these further distances, and that's why like running a marathon with Nova, it would have to be a cool marathon on a very like not hot day because you're on pavement, which means you're 5 to 10 degrees more. So it's really you have to factor in all of those things before making that decision to go further. Because at a different race, like I don't think we could have done what we did at very many races purely because of everything that we had planned, lined up, and covered all of those pieces for us. So you really have to take all of those factors into account. Like dogs are gonna trust you implicitly. So like you can put them into really bad situations and they'll follow because they are like trusting that you're going to be the one that's going to keep them safe. And if you're not taking all those factors into consideration right off the bat, then I don't think it's the right thing to do. And I don't think it's for everybody. And not every dog, without a shadow of a doubt, not every dog. I know I saw one thing of a I think he has two border collies and he's been running a marathon every day for a certain, I think he's been over like 200 days right now, with a couple of border collies. I think he's in the UK. But like you got to be very specific with the breed that you have. Talk to your vet. I mean, my vet was when I told him what I was doing, he's like, I think that'll be okay. But he's never known. Nobody's ever done it, right? So it's like even they don't really know. So really just take those factors into consideration before any of that thought crosses your mind. Most breeds who are in that like endurance space are capable of it under the right conditions.
Wow. It's
a
been
bit old for that now.
Let's go get Coco told.
12 and a half, she's in retirement now, but she was good in her day for sure.
Bless her. But it's been so amazing to talk to you, Evan, and to meet Nova in the distance.
Here, I'm gonna bring her over. She's stretching.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. Come on, Nova, come and do a guest appearance.
Come on, Nova.
Come here. Come here.
Are you sure that dog runs big distances?
You think it's
not
not
put my
far
headphones
enough?
down for 1 second.
Okay.
I'll get her out.
Oh, she's a beautiful girl.
I had to coax her out. This is, and like when I say that she has an off switch, like you think pointers are just like this like dog that just goes. She does this on her off days. Like that is a true definition of what she does.
Yeah.
No, come here. Yeah, come up. Yeah. Come up. I know, big stretch. Big stretch.
She does.
She comes. She's beautiful.
There you go.
Got a little face.
Oh.
Yeah, she still has like a full puppy face, and she's like when I say that she's the runt of the litter, like she's 37 pounds, so she is very small for a Vizsla. But and when people say that they look like their dogs, I mean,
Very, very svelte.
Yeah, we're definitely lean.
Very fit, trim.
We're
running machines. Yeah.
I had to coax her up with her cheese treat.
I've never met a dog that's run 75 miles, so that was and an honour to have met her. We will share obviously a lot of your socials, but just for anyone listening, where's the best place to sort of follow your adventures with Nova?
Yeah, so everything primarily is on Instagram. So just Ultra Birch on Instagram. Ultra Birch like the tree. And my website, ultrabirch.com. We have a YouTube channel as well that you can link off of the website, where I know I wasn't sure if I was going to have a date to be able to announce on here, but I had a full film crew with me for the race. So this is going to be like your heartfelt like dog story of the year within the endurance running space. So we're going to be releasing the film on May 15th.
Nice.
So we're very excited about it, and it's going to be, you know, kind of more about the bond and the relationship with us, and running just happens to be what we do and how far we go. But I hope that other people will be able to see themselves and their dogs in what we did, and be able to kind of, compare those two things together and really feel what we felt on the race.
Yeah, that's
Can't wait
amazing.
to
I can't
watch
wait
it.
to see that.
Yeah, and we'll definitely give it a plug when as part of the podcast, but also when it actually arrives on the 15th of May, you said. Yes.
Yeah, I think it'll be, just because we're going to be releasing it North American time, so I think it'll be, I think 6 p.m. Mountain time, which is going to be when you're all sleeping. So
And
you'll be
where,
able to.
where would somebody find? Where would somebody find that? Would that be on YouTube?
Yeah, so we'll be doing a YouTube watch party, but if anybody's interested, we'll be posting a lot of stuff over the next kind of middle of April all the way through, just with contacts and connections and links for everything. So the link will likely be in my bio for that, and then my YouTube channel. But we'll definitely be sharing it far and wide, so we get as many people watching as we can. Yeah.
Okay.
Amazing.
Exciting, isn't it? Oh, that's brilliant. Well, Evan and Nova, who's watching in the corner there, thank you so much for sparing your time to share your stories with us. I mean, what an amazing adventure the two of you have had. And I'm sure there's more to come. So yeah, we'll definitely be following you ourselves, and I'm sure anyone who will be, when they watch and listen to this, will be in awe of what you two have achieved. So it's been an absolute honour to chat with you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thanks, Jenna. Thanks, Gail, for your time. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Talk Canicross. We really hope that you've enjoyed it. But don't forget to hit subscribe so we can keep you up to date and let you know when the next episode comes out. Happy canicrossing.